welcome, beautiful souls, to another episode of the Spiritual Catalyst podcast, where we talk about all things weird and woo. I am Sarah Lyons, a founder of newearthschool.com.au, and today we have a special guest, Pascale Lane, with us to talk about self-worth, spirituality, and success. Everything you need to know to create wealth and abundance in every area of your life. Just a little spiel about our beautiful Pascale here. She's a therapeutic confidence and success coach. She helps women to create a thriving business by tapping into the very thing that she knows makes the biggest shift of all. Tapping into and understanding that self-confidence and self-worth affects everything that we do. Pascale has 22 years of working with women as a social worker and 18 years as a trained therapist and coach. Welcome, Pascale. You are a very experienced woman we have here today.
And I like when I hear people reading like my bio out, I'm like, shit, that sounds so good. Who is this woman? Like, who is this woman? I'm like, oh my God, it's me.
I love that. And I love your vibe. You're a really beautiful, happy soul.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, do you know what? I am. I am. I'm not to say that I'm like it always, because I don't think any of us are like it always. But I really do think that, you know, we get what we put in, and I just like to see my cup as, you know, at minimum, really half full.
I love that. I love that. I'm definitely an optimist myself. The cup is always half full, not half empty. I don't go there. It's not the way.
No.
I love that. So I really want to learn about your method. You know, we're talking about self-worth, spirituality, and success, and everything our listeners need to know about creating wealth and abundance. What is that? Can we go a bit deeper into how that might look for someone?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, it's been as with all of us, it's a journey. And I think for women in business, myself included, it's definitely a journey. Yeah. And like I should say as well, like success and abundance, wealth and abundance, to me, isn't defined by bank account status. Like, I'm very much so. I was so I just to clarify, just for authenticity's sake, I was a social worker for 18 years, and I've been a qualified therapist for 8 years. I've got 22 years working professionally with women. So just kind of like my social work background, my therapeutic background, all kind of like rolls in together, and took me into coaching, just so I could use all of the skills rather than being kind of limited by one skill set and kind of boxed in, which is what I always felt.
Yeah.
But during my therapeutic practice, I trained with an organisation, a large relationship counselling organisation in the UK called Relate. I don't know if you're familiar with them. And I just used to see like regular patterns coming up in relationship work, regular themes coming up. And as I transitioned into being self-employed, running my own business, and then working with other women who were also running their own business, I just still see these regular themes coming up all the time. So self-confidence, self-worth, actually, more so than self-confidence, self-worth has always been my ticket. Like, that has always been my thing. Because I think when we release that, when we understand how actually we limit ourselves based on how we feel about ourselves and what we think we are worthy of and what we think we are deserving of, when we understand that and we really tap into that, then actually the wealth and abundance just it flows in from everywhere. So like, my clients will come to me with a specific thing that they want to solve, but invariably all areas of their life improve. because once we know what once we know what we're doing to ourselves from a limiting capacity, and once we open ourselves up to healing and we open ourselves up to abundance, then you can't define that to one area of your life. Like it has to affect everything that you do, because it's everything that you are. Like, you are the centerpiece of absolutely everything. So
Yes.
I can feel my heart rate has kind of like doubled even just talking about it, because I get so excited about it. And then when we mix in a little bit of woo and magic, then that's it. Like, everything is possible.
Totally. It's amazing. And I notice the very same patterns with the women that I work with is self, or a low self-worth seems to be at the core of all the problems. And when we go to that very root issue, for want of a better word, then everything else does seem to improve. I love how it's all connected, and I'd love to hear a bit more about your method, and for the listeners that are interested in improving and increasing abundance and success, what would that look like for them? If someone was to come to you, where would you start? What would you do?
So my package is a 3 month coaching package, therapeutic coaching package, and I combine therapy and coaching. So we start off in the most logical place for me, which is setting the goals, right? So where are you now? Yeah. And what is it where do you want to be? What is it you want to achieve? So that's our starting point, because everybody's got different, obviously everybody's got a different starting point, but everybody's got a different idea of what success looks like, what they want to achieve, how, and like what that picture of happiness, if you like, looks like to them. So that's where we start. And then for me, invariably, we end up going back to childhood, because childhood is the beginning of us.
Yeah.
So childhood is the beginning where we started to learn about relationships, where we viewed our parents or carers' relationships with each other, how we formed our sense of identity based on how they dealt with us, how really we form the self-concept, because everything starts from there. So life experiences obviously affect us. Life experiences change our trajectory, be that positive or negative. Like, we have good experiences, we have bad experiences, we have, uplifting experiences, we have, difficult experiences. But how we manage those experiences, in my opinion, is very much based on how we have our initial core concept of ourselves, and how we form our sense of identity. So I like it, like, some people come in with a very clear idea of their trauma, like big T trauma, little T trauma, adverse childhood experiences. Some people are quite clear on that. But a lot of my clients say, I had like a really normal childhood experience, like there was nothing really out of the blue. And I'm like, okay, well, we've got a whole list of like shit to work through here. So let's kind of like, let's dig a little bit deeper into that, and let's see what this normal childhood looks like to you. And it doesn't have to be like with my social work hat on, where we're talking about, like chronic abuse or anything like that. But there are going to be experiences which have, and also people process experiences differently depending on, the other people that were around at the time providing love and support and care. If you had that, resilience levels, personality traits, characteristics, all of that stuff. But there's invariably stuff that has gone on. Maybe just a really critical parent, or a parent who wasn't able to give love consistently, or was only made you feel loved. I'm not saying they didn't love you, but only made you feel loved when you were doing good, being good, all of that kind of stuff. And so this kind of like, it was all very normal, there's nothing really to report, isn't, I mean, I don't think is really the case for most people anyway, to be honest with you. Like, like, hats off to you if that was genuinely your, and some people have had that experience, like, don't get me wrong, but like overwhelmingly, like, we've all had a bit of a, you know, because I'm very much, you know, again, like my social work experience. I started in social work, so not like as a social worker, because I did my training a little bit later. But I started in the social work field at my local authority family centre at 22. So I did all of my professional and to an extent personal growing, adult growing. In that kind of field, and I you know, these generational patterns, these generational cycles of behavior, you can't not, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And so it's not that our parents were necessarily bad or necessarily meaning to cause harm, but it's that they in combination didn't know any different because that was how they were raised, and also were very unaware, because aren't we blessed now, Sarah, to be living in a world, living in a generation where we talk about all of this stuff very openly. And they didn't have that. So I wouldn't go as far as to say there are no bad parents, because I genuinely don't believe that's true either. But I think overwhelmingly our parents did our best for us, but didn't get it right in the same way that, you know, as knowledgeable as I am, there's going to be things that I don't get right with my kids too, and that's not, you know, that's just the reality. There's no perfect, you know. There's no, it's not a real thing. So sorry, I digress. That was a really long answer. So that's where we start. So my work basically is working in parallel all the time with the healing journey and the goals. And so once we've got those two kind of established, then we just keep moving forwards, you know, in whichever way we can to move towards the goal, whatever your goal is, and really identify any limiting beliefs, any blocks, any barriers that are coming up along the way. My ethos, my value is that I don't want my clients to have a short-term fix. And I don't believe that, you know, like I love everything spiritual. I love everything woo. I love manifesting. I love the law of attraction. It's a huge part of who I am. But there's no amount of affirmations and vision boards and meditating that are going to, in my opinion, that are going to provide long-term, permanent, lasting change until we actually get to the root of the problem and heal it.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think it's important that you know, that you said that. And I'm just wondering, you know, you mentioned you had been in that industry for quite some time, but you felt like you were in a box, and that's why you moved into the coaching space. What has this enabled you to do? You know, you're talking about weird and woo, and I love it. I am all about weird and woo, and that's why I love being in business myself. You know, there's no limits on us. So what have you been able to do shifting out of that, you know, workplace environment into your own business?
Oh, it's just absolutely liberating. Like, it's just so liberating, just able to be, because, you know, being a social worker is a very, like, first of all, like, I'm not really very good with boundaries, to be honest with you.
I love it.
Never really been my thing, to be honest with you. So working in an environment which was incredibly boundaried in terms of who you are as an individual, but also kind of like the work that you do and how you do it was very, very, very boxed in. And I always wanted to do more kind of therapeutic work. And so when I got involved in the therapeutic work, and there was a period of time where I was doing both. And being a therapist under kind of like registration and like accreditation and governing bodies and what have you, you're also very, very boxed in, but kind of like polar opposite, it felt, from social work, which is very kind of time limited, action focused, quite very analytical, quite critical, like heebie jeebies stuff, really, for me. And then going kind of like in one way completely the other way, but also very similarly into a therapeutic environment where you're also very boxed in. You've also got to be very boundary. There's things that you can do. There's things that you can't do. And I was doing that, and I just thought, oh God, like, do you know what? This wasn't what I wanted it to be. Like, this isn't. Like, I swear a lot. Like, I share personal experiences if I think it's relevant, not if I don't, not obviously if it's not relevant. And I just, and also like I, within the therapeutic space, I felt like I wasn't able to kind of just like really shine myself, but also kind of like encourage you to move forward. Like, let's not just stagnate here. Let's not just kind of like sit in this space. What are we going to do about it? And I just found I just naturally really ended up combining the two together, so that what I was creating was a therapeutic space for my clients, but with the view of moving them towards the end goal. And so I then was just like, well, I'm going to just do a life coaching accreditation just because I kind of, want to tick that box, really.
Yeah.
And then I've just kind of just loved being me and talking about the things that make me really happy and inviting clients into my world and inviting other entrepreneurs into my audience who just, I feel like, to just talk about the stuff that we don't really talk about. And I just don't think there's enough conversations about, especially in the business world, Sarah. We're very, very accustomed to like going after the money. This is what you need to do. These are the things, these are the action steps you need to take. This is the consistency you need to show up. These are the things that you need to do. And I know, because I've done it. I know I've done every single business strategy in some way, shape, or form. And unless you are both aligned to that strategy and that you feel worthy of the outcome of that strategy, it doesn't matter what strategy. Like, ultimately every strategy works.
Exactly. Yes.
Every strategy works, but you've got to be in alignment with it. You've got to be like spiritually aligned to it. You've got to be comfortable with it. But then you've also got to say, do you know what, when I get this thing that I'm after, am I going to feel comfortable when I get it, or am I going to sabotage it? Because we can sabotage our dreams without even really knowing them, without even really knowing that we're doing it, if we're not comfortable with our destination.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I'm really passionate about women, not just aligning to their destiny, but fulfilling their mission. And a lot of that sabotage can get in the way of that. And I see that as, for me personally, I see it as a waste of a life or potential when they could do the thing. And I'm so glad that we have women in the world like you, Pascale, who can help these women to move through those so that they can create what they want. It's so important. That's why we're here.
it's why we're here. And it's not just, again, coming back to that generational cycle. We're not just doing it. I'm not just doing it for me. I mean, I genuinely, my children are my driving force for absolutely everything that I do. So it's about breaking those generational patterns. But it's also about showing them that I've got two girls, they're just coming up 7 and 10, showing them that, mummy rocks.
Yeah.
And because mummy rocks, you guys rock too. And you just, like, let's not get caught up in what we think we should be doing and how we think we should be doing it. You just go out there and just do it, like whatever it is. I don't care what it is, like, within, obviously safe and legal, and not hurting anybody else. But like, let's be role models to our children as well. I mean, my mum ran her own business very, very successfully, and that's no coincidence. It's no coincidence that I had a strong role model who fought really hard for herself and her business.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing
It's
that with us.
great.
It's really beautiful. And thank you for being you and doing what you do in the world. And for our listeners who would love to get in touch with you, receive your support or be in your audience, where can we most easily find you?
So easiest place to find me is on Facebook. So connect with me on Facebook, Pascale Lane, Therapeutic Confidence and Success Coach. I've got a Happy and Fulfilled Women in Business Facebook group, which everyone is free to join. And I've got a book. You can download my book, How to Be Happy in Life and Love, A Guide to Living the Life You Deserve, which is at youfulfilled.co.uk/book.
Beautiful.
But actually, just go to the homepage and the pop up, actually, youfulfilled.co.uk, and it comes up as a pop up. Fill out your details, and receive a free copy of my book.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Thank you. And I'll make sure that we pop all of those links in this episode details so that we can check it out. Thank you so much again, Pascale, for coming on today. It's been such a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome, darling. And thank you to our beautiful listeners. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a review, and we will see you next time. Bye.